Hi there everyone, and welcome back to this factorization lesson called the sum or difference between two cubes. Now you will be very happy to know that this is the last factorization law that you need to know. Now a cube is a number that if you cube root it, your answer will be a natural number. So if I write an 8 is a complete cube. Why? Because if I cube root it, my answer will be a natural number without any fractions, right? Natural number. Okay, great. Now, there are only two terms in the sum or difference between two cubes. The word two kind of gives it away, right? So this is a difference between two cubes, because I can get the cube root of the first term and I can get the cube root of the second term, because both terms are complete cubes. Okay, and then this one is a difference because there's a minus between the two cubes. Now this one is a sum of two cubes because there's a plus between the two cubes. Okay, so we have to have two terms. The first term must have a cube root and the second term must have a cube root answer. That is natural numbers, right? Okay, brilliant. So let us have a look at the following. What do you need to know at first? When we have a difference between two cubes, we are going to have two brackets, one short one and one long one with three terms in it. So one has two terms, one has three terms. Now, again, that minus will go into the first bracket, the short one with only two terms. Now, how do we get these answers? Let's see. Get the cube root of the first term. Okay, so I get the cube root of x to the power of 3. Now, let's quickly see how we get the cube root of x to the power of 3. The answer will be an x because we take that exponent divided by that will give me just the x, right? So we write down that answer here. Okay, brilliant. Then we get the cube root of 8. Now, again, the cube root of 8 will give me an answer of 2, and we write that answer right here. So, basically, the first bracket is the cube root of the first term minus the cube root of the second term. Okay, now if we look at the sum of two cubes, again, the cube root of x to the power of 3 will be x, and the cube root of 8 will be 2. And in this case, that's the sum of two cubes, so that one will have a plus. Got it? The difference between two cubes, the first bracket has a minus. The sum of two cubes, the first bracket has a plus. Okay, brilliant. Now, where does the values for the second one come from? Okay, so what you need to know, in all of these answers, we will only have one minus. So if the minus is in that first bracket because it's a difference between two cubes, the long bracket will only have positive signs. If the first bracket has a positive sign, then the second long bracket will have the minus where the middle term is. Okay, so please don't forget that. Plus, then it will be a positive, minus, and a positive. This one is minus, so it will be positive, positive, positive. So I don't put in the positive sign there because it's standing first in that bracket, so I'm just not going to write it, okay? So how do we get those values? We simply take this answer and we square it. So x squared, okay? And we write that answer in there. Okay, brilliant. So let's do that. So this will just be x squared. Now, where do I get the middle term from? We take the x and the 2 and we multiply them. So we are going to take the x multiplied with the 2. So the 2 in the first bracket, forget about the sign there. It's just x times 2, and x times 2 will be 2x. So we write here 2x. And then where does the last one come from? We take that 2 and we just simply square it, and 2 to the power of 2 will be 4, and we are done. Okay, great. So then we have x minus 2, x squared plus 2x plus 4, and we're done. How about the sum of two cubes? We already got the square root or the cube root of x to the power of 3, which is x, the cube root of 8, which is 2. Where does the middle term come from? That first one is just this first one squared. I'll show you again. It's just the x squared. That one squared, and it goes there, so x squared. Okay, and then where does the middle term come from? It's just simply the x times the 2, so it will just be x times 2, and that will be 2x, and that answer goes in there, so it will be 2x. And the last term, that will be a 2 squared. So if I take that 2 and I square it, my answer will be 4, and that answer goes in there, and it is 4. And I'm done. But what you need to know is this was the sum of two cubes. The plus sign goes into the first bracket, and then it will be a positive, negative, positive. There's the -1 in the middle. Okay, and here, because it's a difference between two squares, there's the minus, and the rest will just be positive. There's only just one minus in the entire sum or difference between two cubes. Easy, right? Okay, great. Let's go look at some more examples. Now, here are some more examples, and I'll run you through them. Here is just a reminder. If it's a difference between two cubes, we have the difference in the first bracket, and then everything else in the second bracket will be positive. The sum of two cubes, we have the plus sign in the first bracket, and then the negative will appear in the long bracket right in the middle. Okay, so great. Now, again, remember, we're busy with factorization, so we always look for a common factor first, then a difference between two squares, then a trinomial, then a grouping, and then a sum or difference between two cubes. Now, this has no common factor. It's not a difference between two squares. No, it's not, because I cannot get the square root of a y to the power of 3 nor a x to the power of 3. It's not a trinomial, it's not a grouping. This is a difference between two cubes. How do I know? I can get the cube root of 64x3, and that will be 4x. And remember, this is a difference, so we write the minus. I can get the cube root of y to the power of 3, which is y, put it in brackets, and then we just simply take 4x and we square it. That will give me 16x squared, and then this will be a positive. 4x times y will give me 4xy, and the last one will also be a positive, and it will be y squared, and we close the bracket off, and there I'm done. Remember, the brackets will always look like this, so forget about multiplying the signs. That one is a minus, the rest will be plus. How about this one? Well, no common factor, no difference between two squares, no trinomial, no grouping. This is a sum of two cubes, because I can get the cube root there, I can get the cube root there. And this will be a x plus 1, because the cube root of 1 is 1. And then this will simply be x squared, because x to the power of 2 is x squared. Then x times 1. And remember now, this will be minus 1x. I don't have to write the 1, because 1 times x is 1x, but I don't need to write the 1. And remember, the middle one will have a minus, because it's the sum of two cubes. And then 1 to the power of 2, that is also a 1, and I am done. Now, the last one, this is also a difference between two cubes, so this will be 2 minus 3a, and then we have 4 plus 6a plus 9a squared. How did I get there? 2 to the power of 2 is 4. 2 times 3a is 6a, and 3a to the power of 2 is 9a squared, right? And because it's a difference, the minus is here, the rest will just be positive. Wonderful. Now let's go and try some more, and you can practice it before I show you what the answers are. Wonderful. Now give them a go. Once you are ready, resume the video and see if you are correct. Here I go. Now, again, no common factor, no difference between two squares, no trinomial, no grouping. This is a difference between two cubes, and the answer will look like this. It will be a little bit more difficult than usual because we have brackets in them. So x minus 1, there we go, and the big bracket will look like this. 4 plus 2 times x minus 1, and the last one will be a plus with x minus 1 squared. Close the bracket off. Okay, great. So again, we don't want brackets inside brackets, so we're going to keep multiplying out. But before we do that, remember the cube root of 8 is 2. The cube root of that term will just be x minus 1 because I'll show you here, because if we have x minus 1 in brackets to the power of 3 and I cube root it, we just simply write the base, which is now the x minus 1, and 3 divided by 3 is 1, right? Okay, and then how did I get all of that? It will be 2 times x minus 1, there we go, and x minus 1 to the power of 2, yes? And everything else will be positive because it's a difference between two squares. Let's multiply. So now we get the following: 2 minus x plus 1, and this will be 4 plus 2x minus 2. And now I have to multiply that out with a product of two binomials, and I'm going to do that quickly too. So and remember, so because this is also a distributive law, because it's a positive, I don't have to put the answer in brackets because positive signs never change the thing's answers, right? So x times x will be x squared, and then x times minus 1 is minus 1x times 2, it's minus 2x. And minus 1 times minus 1 is a plus 1, and close the brackets off. And let's add and subtract. So here we will have a minus x, and 2 plus 1 is plus 3. And here we will have, and now I have to look careful for the same things. We will have x to the power of 2, and I'm going to write that at the front. And then we will have a plus 2x minus 2x, that cancels out, so those two won't apply. And then we will have 4 minus 2, which is a 2. 2 plus 1 equals 3, and we will have a plus 3, and we are done. Okay, brilliant. So that is what we end up with, and now we can continue on to the next one. Now here I'm going to take out a common factor because we don't have a rule that says a minus a cube and a minus a cube. So I will take out a minus, and then we will have x to the power of 3 plus 27. And then we just leave that common factor 1 minus outside, and then we will have x plus 3, and the big bracket will be x to the power of 2 minus 3x plus 9, and we are done. How did I get it? Cube root of x to the power of 3 is x. Cube root of 27 is 3. How did I get that? X to the power of 2, x to the power of 2. See? X times 3 is 3x, but because it's a sum of two cubes, that middle term will be a minus, and x times 3 is 3x, and the last one will be positive. 3 times 3 is 9. Okay, brilliant. How about the last one? Don't let it fool you, it's quite easy. It's a sum of two cubes. This will be xy plus 1 over 2, because the cube root of 8 is a half. And then we will have the following: xy squared, that will be x squared y squared, and because it's the sum, the middle term will have a minus, and then half times xy is a half xy, and then the last term will be a half squared, and a half squared will be a quarter, and we are done. So see how easy this is? You just have to know your 5 different factorization laws. Always check for a common factor, difference between two squares, trinomial grouping, and whether it's a sum or a difference between two cubes. And then you just have to know the rules. Hope to see you next time. Bye. This is your host Richard T, and thank you for joining us. Please visit our website mathsa.co.za for free guided exam tutorials.